In this last segment, we're going to talk about emerging issues in artificial intelligence and machine learning. We'll give exact definitions of those terms in week 11 of this class. So a lot of the excitement in this area comes from the development of deep learning technologies. The initial excitement was caused by the superior performance of this algorithm called AlexNet in an object recognition competition. This is back to 2012, which achieved dramatically improved performance over previous state-of-the-art algorithms that did not use deep learning. There's a good review of the whole field in the classic paper by LeCun, Benji, and Hinton, and that's the paper we show on the top left. And these three investigators won the Turing Prize for their work in deep learning. These are the fathers of the deep learning field. This is from May 2015. There's a huge promise of this technology, a solution to many problems. My hunch that the hype is probably overblown as well. Not everything is going to be solved by deep learning, and we'll get into a lot more details on the math and the underlying techniques here in week 11. Now, the basis of all machine learning, and especially deep learning, is data. And so hence the title of the slide, Data, Data, and More Data. A major challenge in the developing these techniques is the collection of large amounts of training data. The data needs to be clean and annotated appropriately. So for example, if we're trying to detect tumors from MRI, we need a set of MRI images that somebody has gone in and labeled the tumors with their proper diagnostic effects. And this is the training data. Our algorithm is now trained on this data, and it learns a solution. The data needs to be rich and represent all possible real-world situations. So, all the age ranges, all the kinds of tumors in the case of tumors, different racial categories, different ages, different sexes, all of that has to be in your data set. And so we must ensure diversity of population, sensors, different scanners, potentially environments, different kinds of hospitals. All of these have an impact on the performance on this algorithm. And we'll come back again in week 11. In response to this, we have this draft guidance from the FDA. This is from 2019, and you can see it's called Proposed Regulatory Framework for Modifications to Artificial Machine Learning, AI/ML-based software as a medical device. So the major challenge the regulators are facing here is this need, and this is something that's very common in this type of techniques, for the software to adapt and learn as it is in production. Because we need so much data to train this. You may have 1,000 cases. You've trained your initial version of the algorithm. Now you put it in production, and now you go through another 500 cases. You'd really like to add those 500 cases into the training database to update the algorithm to get better performance. Now, if you remember from what we talked about 2-3 segments ago, about 80% of the problems happen with software updates in software. Now imagine a piece of software that updates itself. So this is a complicated problem. There's a huge promise, but there are also challenges. And this is the beginnings of an attempt to regulate this process and to figure out how we're going to go through developing algorithms that are safe to update on their own. So this is a challenge the regulators are facing right now. The FDA is also setting up a Digital Health Center of Excellence. This is from September 2020, so this is very recent. And part of this, and this is the most surprising part to me, is this Digital Health Precertification Program. And the idea here is that they will certify manufacturers based on the fact that they do good work and let them bring products to market without product review. So you're actually reviewing the manufacturer and say, okay, we trust you to do a good job. We'll, of course, keep an eye on you, but you don't need to be reviewed. This is just to allow for a fast transition to market. And I'm going to have 2 quotes here from this document just to give you a sense of what's involved. So the FDA's traditional approach, and this is what they're recognizing, is not well suited for the faster, more iterative design, development, and validation techniques used to develop medical devices, which are software as a medical device. And so modern software development and deployment techniques, and these are techniques that come from the internet industry, places like Google and Facebook, can allow developers to address malfunctions quickly and efficiently, to reduce adverse events, to understand and capture information about product performance outside of traditional clinical trials, and to measure and improve patient engagement and outcomes with iterative deployment of software improvements. So the challenge here is, can you create a solution that improves on its own by just taking advantage of more and more data? That is what your internet services that you're all using do, and can we take advantage of this in the medical world as opposed to sort of more traditional multi-year review process that we go through. So these are the general trends that I'm seeing if you go back over the last 20, 30 years. The old model, results are all that matter. Does it actually work? We soon learned that we need to have proper design, quality management, procedures. All of these are important in providing assurance that the good results were not obtained by chance. And this is the lesson of hard knocks from accidents and failures. And now we're beginning to get into a situation, at least in the software era, where The key is a good organization that produces quality work. And this is what the FDA is beginning to do for a very small number of manufacturers. They're pre-certifying them and letting them self-police to a large extent. So this is where we are right now. So this concludes our discussion of the regulatory process with medical software. In next week, we're going to transition into the healthcare sector, look how the healthcare industry works, and the laws and regulations that govern that, especially issues to do with data privacy and security. Thank you.